Hey, what's up guys, and welcome back to another video. So it's been a while since I've done one of these, but obviously there's been a new patch. And with the new patch, there is a new map pool in which they've added 3 new maps. Acropolis, Golden Swamp, and Four Lakes are the new ones for this month, and the other 6 are repeats from previous months. They also made a team game map pool and a 1v1 map pool that are slightly different. For this video, I'm going to focus only on the 1v1 map pool. The reason being, I feel like for team game maps, yeah, I can tell you what civs to play, what civs are good, but there's too many variables that come into play, and it's hard to get all the teammates on board. So I'm going to stick with the 1v1 for now. It's just a little bit easier for me, and it'll be easier for you guys to follow along as well. Before I hop into the maps though, I got to do the mandatory Discord shoutouts. We're closing in on 4,000 people that are playing and talking about Age of Empires pretty much around the clock, because there's different time zones in the Discord. So I'll leave a link to it in the top of the description. Also, if you're sub to my stream, you can join the Discord and also get access to my builders and recorded games, some of my recorded games in there as well. So a lot of benefits there. Highly recommend you join it. And then aside from that, I also want to talk about the new balance changes that came in. Quickly though, I only want to talk about 2 civs. The Tatars and the Cumans. So I think those 2 are quite buffed because they gave the Step Lancer in general a good buff. They give it +1 attack, I believe, and maybe something else. And then they also give the Kipchak, which is the unique unit of the Cumans, +1 arrow at elite and at regular. So and then that's also, they also gave Cumans the Cap Ram and Castlage, and then they've also made Step Husbandry for the Cumans affect the Step Lancer. So Cumans got 3 buffs there. Tatars also got a buff to the Keshik. They train faster. They also got the Step Lancer buff, and then they also get Thumb Ring for free and Castlage. There's 3 buffs to them, and then they also get a 4th buff, which is their unique tech and Imperial Age. That gives their trebuchets +2 range now instead of just a +1 from before, and they also get access to the Flaming Camel, which is like a fast-moving P-Tard unit. It's kind of a meme, but it's the Tatars got 4 buffs. Humans, I think 3. So I think that those 2 civs are something to watch out for sure. I'm not sure why I classed them. I think the Tatars are definitely mid-tier now. They feel solid. They have a good early, mid, and late game now. And then I'd say Cumans maybe even a bit higher, because I think that they have probably the strongest all-in cast in the game, with the Capram, Light Cap that produce faster, and also the Kipchaks, which are quite strong now. So there's a lot of potential for these 2 civs nowadays. So just keep an eye out for them. I haven't done too much testing. So just said, like I said, keep an eye. And also, I will leave a link to the full patch below if you want to check out everything they talked about in the new patch. So I'll leave a link there as well. Also, right before we hop into it, this is my first video of my 30 days of YouTube, where we do a video every day for the month of April. But enough of that. Let's hop into the ranked map pool. Based on a request as well, I do have pictures of the maps that are a lot more clear than these ones, so we won't be going off these pictures if we got better pictures of an actual in-game visual now. And that's simply because of what you guys commented on my last video like this. So I'll quickly talk about the maps that we already had, and then I'll go into the ones in more detail, which is the new ones. So I'll talk about everything to give you guys a recap, and also include some of the newer civs that might have popped up in the new patch that are quite strong now. So for Arabia, if I would recommend a few civs, first of all, let's take a look at the map. Let's try this out. Oh boy, Arabia, there it is. So this is what a standard Arabia map looks like. You've got both DCs on the front or on either side, and then there's obviously a lot of woods and gold scattered with hills here and there as well. So open land map is what we're rolling with for Arabia. And if I would recommend any civs on it, I think the same civs kind of apply from before in Aztecs, Britons, Aztecs, Britons, Chinese, really strong. Mayans, really strong. Persians, Khmer have always been quite strong as well since the last patch. And then I'm also going to add Cumans. I'm not sold 100% on Tatars, but I'm going to say Cumans, and maybe we'll throw in Tatars as well. Like I said, I don't have exact testing. I think those 2 can be upper mid tier on this map because it's open and land map. They definitely thrive on this one. But I would say that for Arabia, those are like my top civs, the first 6 I named. Then you also have tons of options. After Cumans and Tatars, you got like Hans, Mongols. They're all great civs. Franks, Ethiopians, Malay, Malians. These all work. Vikings for sure as well. They all work. So there's a lot of civs in Arabia. My first 5 are definitely the main ones though, at least in my opinion. Next up, we got Mediterranean. Now we're starting to narrow the civs a little bit more. There's only going to be a select few that work here. So if I can just show you guys the map of Mediterranean, bear with me. There it is. So we're seeing a big lake in the center with plenty of fish inside. It doesn't show the fish from this far out, but the players are on either side of this lake. And you basically have to fight for the center and in order to, fight for the fish and get that eco advantage and control the map in late game with the galleons on the shore. And then you can just wall in the sides as well. If you want to just take the water, wall the sides, and then boom on your land. So as far as what civs are good on this map, you have to think a lot on water civs. I think my top 3 are probably, if I had to give you a top 3 here, definitely number 1 by far is Persians. Persians number 1 by far. Second and third, I would say Italians comes to mind for sure. And you know what? I'm going to also throw... Should have probably prepared this beforehand. I'm going to throw Mongols in there as well. So Persians, Italians, and Mongols. Why those civs? I feel like Persians are the best civ by far because they get off to such a strong eco advantage from the Dark Age with their faster producing docks and TCs. And then they also get, just a good economy and faster producing fire galleys in Feudal Age. So those combined, good economy, good production, just makes them incredible to win the water really fast. And then Italians, if Persians is banned, for example, is simply the best water civ. The Vikings don't work on this map, even though it's great on islands. It doesn't work because the water is so close quarters, and lacking fire galley just doesn't cut it. So I would say Persians, then Italians. And why Mongols? Well, Mongols is an interesting pick. I wouldn't pick it if you're not too familiar with transitions, because usually how you play this one is that you open a little bit on water, then do a quick switch into some scouts or some land. And then because obviously you're going up so fast because you're hunt that you'll be faster than your opponent. So you get to do some water, then land, and then you go back on water afterwards as well. So I'd say Mongols is a little bit harder to play here, but it's definitely, at least at the pro level or top level, a popular niche pick on the map if the other two are not available. And if you want some honorable mentions here, I think Huns comes to mind and Japanese. Just all around solid water and land civs. Can't go wrong with them as well. Those are my top 3 and then 2 honorable mentions. Let's hop into the next map, which is going to be Arena here. Let's pull up a generation of Arena. This is the first time I use this, by the way. Let me know if you guys like it. I could potentially zoom in as well. Not on this version, but on another version. Shout out to overlay guy sirlaurence for making these for me on even short notice as well. So Arena, this is how it looks like. You start with a full stone wall, and most of your resources will be inside. In fact, with the recent patch, your deer will always spawn inside as well. And then there's wood all the way on the outside, and obviously no hills in the center as well. This is the typical Arena map. It's been in the game for a long, long time. I feel like the things to keep in mind here is that your space tends to run out inside your base. So you have to use civs that can boom fast. You don't want to have civs that are great in Imperial Age and not so good early game. You don't have an economy bonus because usually you'll end up just losing the map, losing control, and just getting outpaced by some of the stronger civs. So the good civs on this map are the ones that have a solid boom and have good eco or cheap units. So let's take a look at what I have for Arena as far as civs go. So here, I think I'm going to put Aztecs as first. I think Aztecs are still the best Arena civ, and they've been the best for a long time. As far as 2 to 5, I would say Khmer, because they have a really good boom with the new farms. They get off to a super fast start. Then I would put probably Malay. I think Malay are really strong. Again, these can be interchanged in the order. Malay get off to really good starts as well because they advance to the ages faster, and then they also have cheap units and a really good trash game with the free 200 swordsman or gold free 200 swordsman once the game goes late. I'm also going to throw in Persians. I think Persians can be really strong as well because they have a good economy. I'm not sure, but I also think humans now might be really good. But I'm not sure. I have to do more testing. So humans I'll put as an honorable mention for this one. So I'm going to put Aztecs first. Then I'm going to put Britons, Khmer, Persians. And as my 5th civ, there's so many options that come to mind. As my 5th civ, don't really have one. So I'm going to leave it at those 4 that I know for sure work really well. And as far as another civ in line, like I said, Cumans, Dark Horse. There's so many good options like Byzantine, Burmese can be really good for monk rushing. Byzantine for faster imp if you want. Turks for fast imp, you guys have seen my videos. Mayans aren't too bad. Vietnamese also aren't too bad these days as well because they got the new the new bonus a patch ago. So you got a lot of options. Definitely the main four though: Aztecs, Britons, Persians, and Khmer. Great boom, good units, all around solid. So Nomad is going to be the next map here. Let's bring one of those guys up. Well, that's Arena. That's Nomad. Awesome. So for Nomad, basically there's water on the outside. You start with no TC. That's the specialty of this map. So you have to drop your TC, before to get the game going. And there's obviously gold, stone, and plenty of boar scattered around. So just a quick look at the map. Water is actually super important, so we have to pick a civ that's good on water and good on maps with no TC to start. So what are my top 3 Nomad civs? I'm going to give you guys Persians as S tier again. Persians are by far the best civ on Nomad, from my experience at least. Very easy to play, good at all levels, great boom. You get to do a dock and get 1 fishing ship before your TC finishes, so you have a really good start. Great economy, great unit, the trash bow in late game, gold free expo. Just you can't go wrong, even if you don't have that much gold available to you, because it is random on Nomad, you still have a great solid option with the trash bow. So Persian's definitely my number 1 civ there, hard to compete with. But as far as my second and third option go, I think I'm going to give my second option, I think I'd have to give it to Malians, just because they get off to a really strong start as well. They also get the fishing ship before the TC comes up, so they're a very consistent civ on the map. However, you have to be careful with them because they don't have the best options in middle late game, and they might be a little bit harder to play than the Persians. But I think Malians are still a really strong one. They have reasonable monks in Castle Age, good cavalry. Missing Bracer and Imp really hurts, but other than that, the civ is pretty solid. So I'd say Malians for number 2, just because of their really strong early game. And then for number 3, I have it tied at the Mayans and Spanish. Both of them play kind of the same way, where they don't have that many good bonuses for the Dark Age. However, once they get the Castle Age and able to go for Plumed Archers or Conks, they become very strong. Because keep in mind, there's a lot of stone and gold on Nomad around the map. So if you can control those important hills with castles and then spam a good unique unit, it's really hard to compete with. So I would say those 2 civs are my 3rd place ones. And Spanish and Mayans both have some early game advantage. Like Mayans start with an extra villager after your TC is built, and then Spanish build the TC faster. So those are definitely really solid. Yeah, those are definitely my 4 civs on Nomad. All right, Acropolis, my first new map. No way. Let's take a look at what Acropolis looks like here. Oh, there it is. Okay, so if you guys aren't familiar with this map, you start on an Acropolis for each player. And basically, this little hill on the outside, you can't build on it. But it still acts like a normal hill, which applies hill bonus. And there's not a lot of wood on the mainland. Take a look at these small patches of like 5 trees. It might be good for your first number camp, but afterwards you have to expand these trees out here, because or else you would just run out of wood too fast on your mainland. So you have to do some expansion, which means there's going to be a lot of fighting in the middle. Imagine if one guy is here on this wood line, and then this guy takes this wood line. They're very close together, right? So there's going to be a lot of action in the early feudal, and even up to late feudal. You might have to make a lot of scouts and keep the aggression on, or else you risk falling behind and losing your woodlands. And then obviously you fall back to your land, but you don't have too much left on your mainland at that point. So what are the civs on Acropolis that work really well? I'm thinking you need civs that have good eco, again, but that also can play a lot in feudal age and don't mind these extended feudal age. So I think by definition, you need bloodlines on this map. So my top 3 civs, I would have to give my first one to Persians. As far as a full feudal civ goes, it's hard to compete with Persians. I think they're super buffed in just since DE came out. They can do it all. They can do archers. They got thumb ring and castle age, so those don't fall off. They have really good scouts, really good stable units in castle. Persians by far, I think, the best civ on this map. Again, I know they're popping up a lot this patch. It just feels like it's hard to compete with them on a lot of these maps. So yeah, Persians, maybe not by far. Maybe let's just put Persians as number 1, but not by that far. My second one, this rarely comes up, but I'm going to put Slavs. Slavs has been a popular pick on this one for a long time now, on this map. Simply because they have a really smooth opening. Great farmers, and you're able to go for the all-in feudal as well. And you also get a really good wood saving bonus in the early game, where your military production buildings give you 5 pop room as well. So good early game, good eco. You're able to do full feudal, no problem. And my third civ and final one on this map is going to be the Khmer. Again, great eco with the farms. You can build them anywhere, so you can potentially farm outside near your woodline. And you also can do the full feudal because you have great farmers and full stable production. So I think the only danger with Khmer is that if you're forced to tech archer units, you don't get access to thumb rings. So if you have like a big ball of crossbows, you can't upgrade them fully in Castle Age if it gets there. But you can still play a lot of scouts and they have good economy in general. So those are my top 3 civs there. Of course, other strong land civs, you know, have no problem working. Chinese Huns come to mind. Those are fine. Magyars even can work. I would just say stay away from Meso-civs and stay away from civs without bloodlines because you will need a lot of scouts on this map to stay alive in Feudal Age if you're playing against a really good player. Okay, Hideouts, a map we've seen before, but nonetheless we'll go over it. Oh boy, oh here's Hideouts, there it is. So, both players, this looks similar to like Arena, except the wood is in the middle, and you have your TCs on either side, covered in palisade walls this time and not stone walls. The one thing I will point out in this map though is that your golds and stones are usually vulnerable, so you have to don't think you're that safe behind the palisade walls, and for that reason, we might actually need to have some civs that are good in the early game as well, not just good booming civs like maybe we saw on Arena. However, that being said, you know, there's still a lot of booming on this map, and you still need a civ with a good eco bonus because you face the same risks as Arena of getting outpaced and running out of space on the map. Alright, so let's take a look at what civs I would recommend on this map. So quickly looking through it, I think I have to put Aztecs as number 1. Good eco, good units, cheap units, and they can play in any stage of the game. They can play in Feudal Age, they can play in Castle Age, and they can play in Imperial Age. So Aztecs, definitely the most versatile civ in this map pool for Hideouts. Or in the civ pool for Hideouts. As far as number 2 and number 3 goes, I think I'm going to put Britons as well. Kind of the same reason as Aztecs. They can play in all ages. They have a good economy, good units, good late game. Very strong. And then I'm going to also put Khmer in there as well for my top 3. Khmer, great boom, good units. They can do a really fast castle. Because you obviously don't need the barracks, or you don't need to even make the buildings in Feudal Age like a market and a blacksmith. You can just go straight up to Castle Age. So Khmer get off to a really strong start as well. So Aztecs, Britons, and Khmer for me are my top 3 civs. But again, I stress that there's a lot of other civs that work. Persians work great. Chinese work great. Other civs that are like half boomy, half army like Mayans, Vikings, they work great. Spanish could work with the conquistadors. So you have a lot of options. I'm also going to put an honorable mention, a dark horse on Cumans, because I think that with the recent patch, they can be really strong with their all-in Castle Age. So keep an eye on them for sure. Alright, next map is Mega Random. I actually do not have a Mega Random generation open because obviously it could be anything. On Mega Random, based on the spawns I've seen, there seems to be a lot of hunt and a lot of water on the maps, in most of them. So I would recommend, based on that, Mongols. Really, they're very flexible on a lot of the maps that come out. Civs like Malay also come to mind. They work really well on hybrid maps. Mayans are not too bad as well. So I'd say those are like my top 3, but again, it's so random, so I feel bad giving any sort of advice on this because of the different things you can get. Persians also comes to mind as a very flexible land water civ. So I would say pick a civ that can play both land and water, and that can play a variety of different map types. So I would say the 4 I recommended are pretty flexible. Japanese, another one. Take your pick, take your preference. You can't have the best civ on this map. This simply just doesn't exist. Alright, next up we got Golden Swamp. So at Golden Swamp, I got a map for you guys. There it is. This is a brand new map. I've actually never seen this before, this map pool, and I really like this one actually. So it reminds me a little bit of Cup from Hidden Cup 3, but I actually do think that this one is a little bit better as a map. Just because it feels like it's a bit more balanced. Like you have 3 fish in each of these small lakes, or I think an average of 3 fish, sometimes 2. And then you have the gold in the center as well. And the outsides, yeah, you can wall them. It looks a little wallable. But I do think that the land is a little bit bigger than maybe on Cup. And it just feels like it's a little bit more feasible to go for a land option on this game, on this map. However, I will still say that water plays a big role because you can range all of the middle golds on water. And at home, you get a 5-tile gold and then 2 4-tile golds, I believe. So you get a little bit less gold than a standard Arabian map, for example. Alright, so let's take a look at what my top 3 civs are for Golden Swamp 1v1. I think I'm going to put my first one as... Oof, I feel bad doing Vikings like this, but I'm going to give my first one to the Japanese. I think Japanese are way too flexible. I mean, they just do it all, right? Like, they can do land, water, they have good economy, good units, good fishing ships that are tanky. And so the reason I picked Japanese over Vikings is because if the game gets messy, if someone's rushing the fish like we saw on Cup a lot, or if some guy goes forward, Japanese have access to Fire Galley, which helps tons. They also have a really good late game as well. So Japanese are really solid. And I'm going to give my second one to Vikings. I will say though, if you pick Vikings, be careful of your opponent drushing the fish, because you can still do that on this map, similar to Cup. If they pick Celts or Japanese, they can still drush your fish, drush your fish. So send militia and hit your fishing ships, because it is a amphibious terrain where both land units and water units can walk on. So be careful about that with your early dock. But other than that, Vikings are really strong, good economy. Longboats are sick on this map, and they also have a good late game with Siege Ram and Arbalest on the sides as well. For my third civ, I'm gonna go ahead and give it to either Malay or Italians. Similar reasons to why, or Italians is similar to Japanese. Good water, good eco, a bit worse on land, but a bit better on water. So that's the trade-off there. So take your pick between them. And then Malay are a little bit harder to play, but I'm thinking with harbor control in late game, it can be really good. Also, the option of going for a faster imp and controlling the center with Malay can be very strong. So I think keep an eye out for that civ on this map. I think it might be a dark horse, might be really powerful if played correctly. Alright, and finally, the last and obviously final map, I already said that, is going to be Four Lakes, otherwise known as Cross. This is not it. This is it though. So this map is kind of similar to Cross from other tournaments. It's 4 lakes in each corner, hence the name, with quite a lot of fish, although they reduced it significantly since Cross. However, there's quite a lot of fish, and the map is quite wallable as well, kind of like Cross as well. So I think that civs that are good on this map are usually the ones that are good on water maps, because there's so much fish to make use of. But you also need to be playing a little bit of land as well, because you can't rely 100% on fish, because you have to kill your opponent who's across from you, and there's only land separating you guys as well. I will say on this map that you have to be careful from people docking your lake. You can sneak a villain, dock your lake, and then make some fire galleys to snipe your fishing ships. And I will also say that try to get at least 2 lakes in Feudal Age to be able to make fishing ships on each lake. And don't be afraid to go ham on the fishing ships as well. Like, make a lot. It's worth it. My best civs on this map, again, it's going to be more like hybrid civs. Honestly, I'm going to go out on a limb and say I haven't done enough testing here, but Malay is the best civ. Reason being, you get cheaper fish traps, you advance through the ages faster, and you also get infinite food on the fish traps. So this civ is insane for late game on this map, because if you control like 2 lakes, you need no farms. And I'm actually gonna post a video tomorrow of me winning a game with no farms on this map. So Malay by far the best civ, I think. Not by far. It's hard to play because you might be on the defensive versus other civs, but I think it's very solid. And since they reduced the fish, you're going to need to go into fish traps earlier, which Malay are great at. So Malay first for me. Second is Japanese. Great fishing ships, great land, good early game economy. Japanese definitely come to mind on this map. I will say that they might fall behind Malay after the fish run out, but they also get good fishing ships that you can just set up fish traps. And while they're not infinite, at least they gather faster for the Japanese. My third and final civ will be the Persians. I think the Persians are really strong on this one. Faster producing docks. Really good eco on land, good units on land, trash for late game, and just the ability to be able to do land and water at the same time because of your strong economy is really strong. So it's really good, really important on this map. So Malay, Japanese, Persians is my top 3. Other civs that could work, maybe Italians. Again, cheaper fishing ships, it's not too bad. Huns is not too bad. Spanish is not too bad. These are mainly just good all-around civs. Although I do think they fall short compared to the first 3. So that's going to be it for my map guide for this one. I hope that the pictures helped a lot. I'm not sure, it's my first time doing it. As always, let me know the feedback. I'm always reading the comments. And this is the first day of my 30 days of YouTube for April. So make sure to check the channel constantly. We're going to see if we can... and I'm not sure what to expect. It's a little bit of an experiment. I want to see what kind of views we can get if I post daily, and how many subscribers we can push forward by the end of the month. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. That's my take on the new patch, and I'll see you guys tomorrow on stream or tomorrow on YouTube. Take care, guys, and have a good one. Peace.